Hello, hello. Live chat time again. Get rid of this banner here. There we go. Welcome everyone to another monthly live chat and Empowered with Magna live chat. I'm Magna Gopal, if that wasn't clear already. If you are watching this live or if you're watching the replay, feel free to engage in the comments or into the live chat. Most of my live chats are based on the things that I encounter with my clients, with my dance students, with every aspect of life. And the goal here is to ultimately share everything with all of you. So this is live chat 41. So that means we have been doing it for quite some time, almost going on 4 years, which is pretty exciting. And the purpose of the live chats are really just a way for me to give back. You know, for those of you who know me, my entire mission has always been, yes, I have gained a lot through my dance experience, through my life experiences, through my relationships, my friendships, my adventures, my pursuits. And whatever I've gained, I've always wanted to find some way to give something back so that you, whoever's watching, okay, whoever's listening, can also get something back in return. As always, I like to kick it off with some shout outs. So wherever you are joining from, please let me know the city or the country so I can say hello back to you. Camilo, hi. Let me know where you're joining from. And of course, you know, these live chats tend to go on a little bit longer than I had originally planned for. My plan was to make them quick 30-minute live chats on a certain topic, but every time that I think about a topic, I end up getting more involved in it. I come up with more ideas or more issues that I've encountered, and then want to make sure I share as much as possible in this moment. Many of you have sent me comments, filled out the feedback form. For those of you who don't know, magnagopal.com/feedback. You can provide your feedback. You can provide personal stories and personal questions that I can then address in a future live chat. So many of the emails, the people I've been working with, there are issues that we all go through. Right. At the end of the day, those issues, just because they are communicated one-on-one with somebody, does not mean that they're isolated to that one person. They tend to be something that many of us go through. And so the purpose here is to share the lessons learned and hopefully provide that empowerment, that message, that call to action, those solutions, the strategies that you can then implement into your own life to conquer those same things. Camilo from Colombia. Beautiful. Glad to have you here as well. So again, wherever you are joining from, even if you're watching this as a replay, leave a message in the comments. Let me know where you're joining from, city, country, if you want me to give you a shout out, or a school that you're from, whatever it is, let me know in the comments. So today's live chat, what's the purpose of it? It's about making things worth it. The reason for it is because of a few different situations that I've encountered myself personally as well, but also a few recent situations and interactions I've had with dance students, with coaching clients, and in other areas of my life where I can really see a frustration with people feeling like they're wasted their time, right? Like whatever effort they put in, it's just didn't yield the results that they want, or that they wanted some certain level of enjoyment and fulfillment, but didn't really get that either from that moment. And ultimately felt like, well, why did I even bother in the first place? I don't know if you've ever had a situation like that. If you don't mind sharing your situation, I would love to hear it. I'd love to offer some suggestions there, or maybe we can discuss it further today in this live chat, or possibly in a future live chat. Wade, hello from Queens, New York. Again, wherever you're joining from, let me know in the comments. That's always one of my favorite things about the live chats, is to see the audience, where everybody is from. And I'm sorry, my throat's been dry. I've been drinking lots of water, but still not hydrating enough. And so forgive me for the little those moments that keep coming up. So yeah, let me know where you're joining from, city, country, school, organization, wherever that is. All right, so let me. Oh, Camilo, you're in Medellin and La Cellar Club Dance Academy. I would love to visit you guys. Maybe you can send me an email and we can coordinate something for the future, doing some workshops or whatever. I've never been to Colombia. It would be a first time for me, though I've heard amazing things about it, and the dancing, which is not really my style. So it would be an incredible learning experience, I imagine. All right. So today's live chat, how to make it worth it, right? Like how to get out of that feeling of being stuck, feeling unmotivated, feeling like we're not creating any impact and everything is happening to us, and why bother with anything. So the first thing I'd like to say is the first example rather is a dancing example. And if you are dancers here in the audience, maybe you can relate. A friend and student of mine talked about feeling bored and feeling stuck with dance. He's been learning, he's been taking classes, he's going out social dancing all the time. But whenever he goes out to dance, he feels flat because he feels like all of his practice, he can't actually implement it, or he doesn't feel like he's getting the kind of engagement he needs to feel more motivated. And the social dancing doesn't feel like it's elevating in any way. And so when he's leaving the dance floor or leaving the night of dancing, he's feeling quite defeated, right? There's nothing to take away from it. And he's passionate about dance. He loves the dance. He's been an avid student, always going out, always connecting with people, but he's struggling with that element of boredom and hitting a plateau. If you've ever had that experience, let me know in the comments. I'm going to share my own experiences with each of these examples. The other example I have is with somebody else talking about the dance community in general and talking about the kind of cliquey nature of it, right? Cliquey is a group setting and people kind of just get into their own groups and stay in those places instead of engaging and interacting with everybody else. And feeling this, they end up not wanting to go out anymore. Like, I don't like how divided the scene is. I don't like how this group doesn't talk to that group. I always feel like I'm coming into the space and no one's including me or bringing me in or inviting me to participate in anything. So I really don't want to be a part of this community. I don't want to go out anymore, even though dance is a passion for that person too. Same question. Have you experienced this? Right? Whatever city or community you're in. And if it is a certain location, let me know. I am in New Jersey, and New York salsa dance scene has been one of my main social dance arenas. And every time when I first came out here, every time I went out, I could see those same groups, right? Like cliquey sections, people that only associated with people that were within their dance company, right? Or within their dance school. And I don't know if it was intentional, right, to exclude other people, but it felt like that when I first entered it. The next would be relationships. I had in Toastmasters, so for those of you who don't know, I have been a member of Toastmasters for quite a few years, but really truly engaged with it on a club level, on a district level, in leadership roles, as a member, making sure I'm engaging and taking on roles and everything. And now I'm currently the district's DTM chair. And I was speaking to a woman who's part of another club. And she was talking about, sorry, before I go into relationships, this is still a community thing rather. Okay. So the dance community, and then there's this Toastmasters community. And this woman was talking about how she's part of a club that it doesn't have that many members, and she feels like the engagement level is low and she doesn't want to be a part of it. So similar to the dance community where there's that cliquiness and you don't want to be, you feel like you're not included in the community and you're not a part of it, or you don't want to be a part of something like that. This was a different thing. So this woman, this Toastmasters club, felt like there's low engagement, low membership, and the membership in general does not provide the value that it used to before, or whatever motivation she had to join, whatever incentive there was to join, that no longer exists. And so now she wants to drop out of that club or look for a different club. And then going on to the relationships aspect of it. If you've ever been in a relationship that is not healthy, okay, where you find yourself, let's say romantic relationships, breaking up with someone and then getting back with them. And then the same things happen. The same things that you did not like keep happening, right? And you're like, what did I spend my time on? Why was I in this relationship? Why am I in this relationship still? Right? It's so negative. Or looking and reflecting on something in the past and saying, that was terrible. That was a terrible experience. Or looking at the present and looking at the past and saying, I wish this could have been like that. Right? So on a personal, more intimate relationships. Then another, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff that happened in like the last 2 weeks. So these are all examples of things that came up recently. Another one was a client who did not enjoy working with her coworkers. And she liked the organization, she likes the company, she appreciates what she feels she can bring, but she doesn't enjoy working with coworkers because she felt like they had their own agenda and they were always undermining everything that she's doing. And the communication wasn't that great. And now she feels stuck because there are things that she wants to accomplish, that she wants to push forward, but not feeling like you're getting the support of these other people that are involved as well. And then this one is not recent, but this is something more personal, but also something I'm sure that we've all experienced at some point, which is like losing something, right? Losing something tangible. I'm not talking about like a relationship, a feeling, a connection, but losing something tangible. Maybe it's something that you own, or an investment, money, etc. And then feeling like they are some hopeless. Has can anyone here relate to those examples? Any of those, right? Where we're talking about, let's say, dance, connecting directly with other people, the dance community, where you feel like there's an energy and a vibe that you don't like and you don't want to be a part of. A community outside of dance where you feel like, wow, this community just doesn't have the level of engagement and the level of energy and enthusiasm that it used to have, or that I would like to see, that would allow me to stay motivated. Or relationships, personal, intimate relationships, where you feel like they're really toxic, where you feel betrayed by things, but you somehow keep on recreating those situations with people. Or professional relationships where you have to work with somebody whose style of communication does not align with yours, or whose quality of work, their ethics, their integrity don't meet your standards, right? Or something more general where you feel like you've lost something. You spent a lot of time doing something, and at the end, you lost. You were hoping to gain something from it or keep something as a result of those actions, but instead you ended up losing something. Just gonna take a look at the comments here. Felix from Port St. Lucie, Florida. Never even heard of that city. And Camilo, you met me through a dancing video. Wade said, I've experienced the same for a bit, but yesterday I found something challenging to look up to for a night out. I think we need to step out from our comfort zones to then come back and reform it. New dance partnering equals a new language. I timba and ruedo the casino to spice things up. Yep. Yeah, that's a great point, and we are going to come to that. So generally what I find, we face kind of like two common challenges. We tend to sometimes compare our current situation to something that we think is better, which makes the moment, the present moment, seem like it doesn't have value, seems like it's not worth it. And the other is where we feel like influence, right? The ability to move someone to do something is one way, right? That we're always affected by our environment, the dance community, the cliquiness. That influence is negatively impacting me and my actions to then engage with it further. Um, Leadership positions or work co-workers, right? This person has a terrible style of communication, and that is why I am unable to communicate with that person, and I don't want to communicate with that person. That's why this project or whatever it is that we're pursuing, that we're working on, is ultimately going to fail. That is the two main challenges that I would say. So I want to first go back to the dance example. My friend and student who was talking about the dances and not feeling motivated in those moments. I have been there too. I was super enthusiastic about dance when I started. I loved going out. I loved connecting with people. I liked meeting new people. I liked dancing with beginners, intermediate, advanced dancers. Eventually, I got to a level where I was really able to follow pretty much anybody and everybody. And then I started to feel like, what's the point now? Yeah, I've hit a plateau. I can follow all these people. So what am I really gaining from going out now? Or what's the fun in all of this? And then there's also this element of dancing with so many people. You end up with people that you kind of don't feel like you can connect with. And actually, I want to talk about that from a comment on a recent reel, which was, what is your take on stopping a dance if you see the person is not engaged with you? So I've encountered these same things, the same things that make me feel like, why am I here? Why am I doing this? I'm not motivated. I'm not connected to this person. This person's not connecting with me. I feel like I've hit a plateau. What I did is I shifted my mindset. Instead of focusing externally and saying that person, this dance, right? This, all of these people are not challenging me. I challenge myself. That's the goal, right? I challenged myself. I tried harder to connect. So with someone who is not really connecting and engaging with me, I didn't give up on them. I tried harder to connect. I would smile more. I might even make a mistake and apologize for that mistake to see their response, to connect with them. I might goof around or add something creative to see if their eyes light up to that. I would try harder to connect. I wouldn't give up on that connection. As far as the plateau, feeling like, I can follow everyone. So what's the point? What am I getting out of this? Well, not everyone is the same. And clearly, everyone even is not everyone. I mean, despite all of the dances, and I would almost say millions of dances at this point, right? There's way more than that many people dancing in the world. So have I really danced with everyone? Could I not open my mind to say, who could be new? Who have I not danced with? Who can I find a new experience with, something unique? If I feel like everyone else I've danced with, I can follow, right? So there was that approach, which was, let's try something new. Let me open myself to everyone that is available in that moment. And then there was a shift of my focus from the plateau of movements, right? Since many people kind of do the same moves, relatively speaking, um, from the shift of saying, I know how to follow most of these moves or 99% of these moves, to how do I connect with the person in front of me? Because the person is always different. I've said this a million times. Even the same person is different moment to moment. Something could have changed. Maybe they learned something new. Maybe they had a great day. Maybe they had a bad day, right? Maybe today they feel like the best dancer ever and they've just had great dance after great dance. And so now the connection is going to be amazing, even with me. But, or rather, they have a bad day and they show up and now it's a harder time to connect for me. And so now I have a chance to approach that and learn from that and see how well I can connect, right? Because connection is a two-way street. It's not just a one-way street, right? Going back to the kind of general idea of influence, right? Influence is a two-way street. It's not one way. So if I'm connecting with someone, connecting is a two-way street. So instead of just singling out the other person and pointing the finger and saying, this person is not engaged, this person seems uninterested, and therefore no connection is possible, I always looked at it as, what is my role? What can I do? What can I add? How can I try again? How can I try harder? And that changed everything for me. On the dance level, it changed everything. Dances were no longer boring. I wasn't looking for fancier and fancier moves. I was looking for my ability to grow, to learn and grow in that moment and connect with that person, to find different ways to connect if that connection wasn't immediately there. As a follower in the dance community and as a member of the dance community, speaking of the cliquiness that happens, when I first came to New York, when I was visiting, when I was traveling here, Anton here from Toronto, I used to travel to New York quite often to go to the socials. And then I moved here and would go to the socials often. And I noticed the same thing that this other student had mentioned. It's so cliquey. There are so many groups. I feel excluded. I feel isolated. I don't like the energy. I'm friendlier than this. I'm happy to talk to anyone, but I feel like these people don't want to do the same. And so I don't want to be a part of this community. I experienced similar things. I saw the same cliquiness. I felt the same levels of exclusion. Back to influence. Influence is not a one-way street. So that community, that vibe, that could influence me, right? These people and the way they are behaving is an influence on my decisions. If it can be an influence on my decisions, then why can't my energy equally influence theirs? Right? That goes into agency. Like, what is our power? Are we feeling like the world is happening to us, or are we contributing and making the world as we go with everybody else doing the same thing? So when I started going out regularly, feeling that energy, instead of saying, I don't want to go out because all of these people are cliquey and I don't want to be a part of that and I don't want to have to struggle through that, I looked at it and said, well, if my energy is so social and friendly, maybe I can bring some of that to the equation and maybe I could convert just one person to my side. And that would be a good job. And sure enough, despite those groups, when I would go out, I had no problem interacting with all of those groups because I didn't let their attitude, their ego, their persona block me out. I didn't allow it to be a one-way street. I allowed it to be a two-way street. I approached them. You got a negative vibe or kind of pushing away vibe. I have a friendly vibe. I have a welcoming vibe. And I'm going to meet you there. I'm not going to let you dominate this interaction. And that was my agency. That's my ability. That's my influence. That's my energy that I can bring to the equation so that I don't have to feel like I am subject to the environment. And that's what made a scene that many people would say, oh, is cliquey and kind of pushes you away if you don't belong or if you're not at a high level or you're not part of this group or part of that school. That same scene that has made other people quit actually ended up being something that I was inspired by to be more of myself. So I'm not sure for all of you, especially my dancers in the house, right? How have you felt that, first of all? Have you felt that kind of exclusivity in the dance scene? Maybe a new community, maybe you traveled somewhere and felt that. And how did you engage with it? How did you deal with that? You know, I'm going at it right now because there's leave your comments in the chat and I'll get to them as I continue today's live. And of course, you know, if you're joining for the first time, let me know where you're joining from, city, country. I will give you a shout out. And of course, if you're here for the first time, or if you're here as a repeat for these live chats, don't forget to subscribe. It's a really easy way to support the channel and also also stay up to date with any of the things that are coming up. So yeah, let me know if you've experienced that in a community and how you felt and how you ultimately overcame that. Because if you are still a part of a community that you felt was exclusive, right, that you felt was pushing you out for some reason, or that you just felt it internally, the vibe wasn't great, and you're still a part of that community, that means you overcame something. That it means you shifted your mindset in some way for you to make this space still welcoming to you. An incentive, there's an incentive for you to still go there. So what did you do? How did you conquer that? So let me move on to the Toastmasters community experience. Okay, so this person that I was speaking to, who in my position, kind of instructing her on how to pursue her Distinguished Toastmaster recognition or award and like how to approach it, getting more engaged. She talked about her small club. Now, the club I'm a part of was a much bigger club before COVID. And the attendance, I would say, was at least minimum of 10 people in person, but sometimes up to 20, right? It would vary. COVID hit, and then all of a sudden there were no one was showing up. A lot of people dropped out of the club. I still maintain my membership, actually, because I didn't even realize I was still in the club. And occasionally I get emails from the club leadership. Finally, I decided, well, it's COVID. I'm not going anywhere. We were all stuck at home. This is 1 hour in a week. I'll just show up and engage with other people, since I'm not really engaging and interacting with people in person. Now, that small club, I could have looked at it because I've been a member of a different club, which had, my connection is in and out. I hope I'm back. Fingers crossed. I look like I can see myself, so I'm going to say I'm back. Fingers crossed. All right. So with this club, it ended up being a small club. It was like four of us that showed up, 4, maybe 5 people that showed up. Now, I could have looked at that and said, this is not what I want. This engagement is too small. The membership is too small for this space to provide me with anything of value, right? Like, what am I really getting from this moment? But similar to the dance community example, is influence one way? No, it's not. So in this situation, it wasn't just about influence, but it was about being present in the moment and taking as much from the moment as possible. But you have a choice. Of course, you could say, I don't like this space. I want more people in the space. So I'm leaving this space to find a space that works for me, that meets all of my requirements. You can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're already here, Why not make the best out of it? So for me, with that club, what are the benefits of being in a smaller club? Well, when it comes to speeches, you have multiple opportunities to speak. There are not that many speakers. When it comes to taking on roles, there are more opportunities to take on those roles and become proficient. So that is exactly what I did. Every single meeting, I was like, what else can I try? What did I do well last time? What did I not do well? Can I do that one again? How many things can I work through? How can I work through this educational program in an efficient way? And so where I had spent, I was a member since 2016, where what are we, 2024? So from 2016 to like 2021, 22, so 5, 6 years, yeah, I didn't really make much progress at all throughout that. But then all of a sudden, by noticing the moment and the opportunities that that moment provided, uniquely provided, because if I was in a larger club with more members, I would not have those opportunities available to me. If there's 10 things that I can do, or in any given meeting, and there's 40 members, well, now we all kind of have to work out that rotation. But if there's 10 things that I can do and there's 4 members, well, you better believe I'm doing multiple things at the same time. So now I'm learning how to even juggle different roles in one meeting or in one space. So that's how I approached it, right? It's what can I learn and get from this moment? This is a unique moment. I haven't left it. I did not make that decision. It's my decision to make if I choose not to be here and seek something better out. But can this not be good too? Can I not get something of value from this space, this moment, this engagement, this unique opportunity? Of course I can, but that depends on me to do that. And so, first, I was taking on lots of roles in club meetings. And then there was this other element of, back to the influence situation, like a dance community. If I don't like this vibe, right? If I wished for greater engagement, what good does it do to me or to anyone else involved for me to just sit here and say, man, I wish this was better, right? Everyone can sit there and complain. Complaining is easy, but what are you bringing to the table? Are you bringing any solutions whatsoever? Right? So for me, that's what I did. I said, okay, this is the engagement. This is the membership. I'd like better engagement. I'd like a bigger membership. So I took on the role as club president. And then I worked at that and I built that club up. So we were a good club before COVID, decent club, but still average in terms of like what we were accomplishing on the district level, as a distinguished club. But we were an average club, sometimes even below average. And in the 2 years that I was club president, I brought our club to the highest distinction, because I did not look at that environment and say, this is a one-way street. This is an unfortunate position for me to be in. It's a really loud motorcycle or scooter. I didn't look at it as if it's a one-way street, that this is a position that I'm forced to be in. And unfortunately, well, I don't have any room to grow and I'm not going to get anything out of it because, well, this is what it is. I instead looked for ways to bring change. I want change. Well, can I effect change? And if I can, then let me at least suggest it, or let me take the steps to try and do that. And I did. And so now that club has much better engagement than before, right? There's still lots of things that we can work on. There are a lot of ways that we can improve, but where it came from during COVID, with like three or four people, sometimes even just 2 people in a meeting, to where it is now, is an accomplishment. And that was because of a desire to create some change, to not feel like influence was in a one-way direction, that the environment is the only thing that can impact me. I can impact the environment too. A couple of comments here. Let me address those really quickly. Marisol, the dance cliques is what turned me off. Those members that bully other members and make them feel as if they don't belong and shun them, I just stopped contributing. And Marisol, I just want to show this comment so it's easier, because maybe I reading it too quickly, right? The dance cliques is what turned me off. Those members that bully other members and make them feel as if they don't belong or shun them, I just stopped contributing. And this is what I'm referring to. If you are not that person, if you are not the person who is the type to exclude people or shun people or talk negatively about people and push them away, you are the person that we need in the community. Right? You're the type of person we need in the community. But how can that community have people like you if you leave at the first sign of resistance, right? At the first challenge that you experience or that you notice from the community being in a way, like acting in a way that is not to your standards, right? If we leave, if the good that we can bring, we don't bring, and we leave with it, then what happens to the community? Well, just all of that negative energy just festers and grows, and it becomes a completely exclusive community that no one wants to be a part of. And maybe they'll lose even those members that they have, right? It is the resilience of people to sit there and say, I don't like this. This is not how I am. I don't appreciate being treated. I don't appreciate seeing people treated this way. I am going to step in and do the things that I wished other people would do. Right? With dance, this has been a big part of my approach to dance. When I started becoming more popular, and when this went from a social thing to a professional thing, I saw a lot of professionals. I got to meet a lot of professionals, and there's so many professionals, right, that also started where I started. But all of a sudden, they became professionals, and now it's sunglasses, fedoras, and a lot of attitude, right? Now, they don't talk to people, and even me, sometimes they're like, oh, hey, what's up? And whereas before we greet each other with big hugs, all of a sudden I'd see them at events and it's like, oh, hey, and they had their entourage with them. And I could say, what do I say? I don't want to be a professional anymore? No. Instead, I say, I am also a professional, and there are other ways to treat people. There are other ways to engage and interact in this community, and I'm going to lead by example. Whether people want to follow me or not is irrelevant, but I will not succumb to this behavior. This is not me. I'm not going to do this. And instead, I'm going to show that there are other ways. And so as a professional, I always showed up and kind to everybody, smile, give people hugs, talk to people, right? Not show up even dressed in a way that looks like, don't come talk to me, right? So that's our influence. That's your influence. That's what you can bring to that community, that same community that you feel is pushing you away. Push back. Bring the good. If you see just the negativity and the bad, bring the positivity, bring the good, because you have just as much power as them. There's nothing different, right? The only difference is our thought that we think we don't have enough power to influence others also, or that we don't have enough power to influence the environment that we're in. And we do, but we need to exercise it. All right, so I hope you get back and contribute in a positive way. Wade said, I think when your goals start to be different, the strangest you would feel around everyone. When you look for a different path than the popular one, your connection with them weakens. And yeah, that's true. Sometimes, you start pursuing different things and your connection with other people changes, and that's okay. But it doesn't mean that that moment that you're with somebody cannot be a moment for you both to connect. I have had friends from childhood. Okay. I went on to go to university and pursue my degree, and then started traveling the world with dance. And these people did not pursue that. In fact, a lot of people from my teenage years dropped out of school. Just gave up on all of that and started hanging out with a bad group of people. Some of them were like selling drugs, and I shouldn't even say that on the live, should I? Just in case. I don't know who they are. Okay, now I'm going to say. Anyways, people just took a really bad path in life instead of pursuing their education and pursuing growth and ways to contribute and become a better person. And yeah, I'm not trying to connect with them, not trying to bring them into my circle anymore. They might have been best friends when I was a kid, but They're not best friends now, and they most likely never will be because we are on divergent paths. However, if I see them, I don't need to give them attitude and say I'm better than you. I don't approach them that way. If I'm in that moment with them, I engage with them like a human being. Forget everything we've accomplished or have not accomplished, all the decisions we've made, good or bad. This moment is unique. And this moment provides an opportunity, as every moment does. It provides an opportunity to connect with the person in front of you. How do we do that? Maybe there are things you leave out. If you need to address them, maybe you address them. Maybe that's your point of conversation. If they're really not relevant, right? This person has chosen a different path. I didn't choose that path. Why should your path that you chose, you didn't decide to go to university, affect me? Affect the fact that I knew you, that we shared things, that we used to play games together and play sports together and sit in the classroom together. Why can't we talk about that instead? Right? So there are many ways that you can still connect with someone. It doesn't matter that they completely took a different path. In dance, for example, you could have people who first everyone started social dancing, and then all of a sudden one person's like, all right, I am really going to be into social dancing. Another person says, I want to be a performer. And now you're not going out dancing as much. One of you is, the other one isn't. And the other person is now part of a group or part of a dance team. And with that dance team, they're now coming up with attitude and whatnot. Yeah, you don't have to pursue that path, right? Those are two different paths. You're no longer aligned, and maybe you don't even talk anymore. But when you see each other, can you not connect for that moment? Right? Hey, how's the show team going? Oh, how often are you practicing? There are many ways to engage and connect with people. That's why I say it's a two-way street. Like, we have to stop thinking that we are not capable. We have to stop thinking that we don't have power, that we don't have agency, that we don't have ability to contribute to an environment. If we can say someone else is rude and ruining my mood, then why can't I say that I am energetic and positive and I can improve that mood? Right? Well, why not? Why is one stronger than the other? It's only stronger because of the strength we give it, and because of the strength we take away from ourselves to redirect or to meet it or to contribute. Big discussion 76. Glad to catch you live again. Not sure where you're joining from or your name actually is either. Leave it in the comments. Michael, happy that I got to join another stream before I have a newborn. You rock, Magna. I love all the advice and education you give during these streams. Keep it up. Thank you, Michael. And exciting news that you've got a newborn on the way. Congratulations. And I hope that maybe in those moments, maybe my voice is calm enough to relax your newborn. This could be your lullaby, a live stream. Big discussion. The salsa community can be way more complicated than normies can imagine. Normies meaning people not in the scene, are non-dancers. Yeah, but the salsa community is not unique. Every community has these elements to it, right? If you look in, excuse me, and I think this also starts to happen because I talk a lot. If you look at corporate communities, right? Does the secretaries that are working at the front desk end up engaging as much with the managers, right? Do the employees go hang out with the managers, or do they kind of hang out with themselves? Are the CEOs connecting with everyone on the lower level? Are people talking to the cleaning staff, right? There's cliques and groups everywhere. In every community, they exist, right? It's not unnatural. There's nothing wrong with it. It is just structure and who you're around and surrounded by, and who you might be able to relate to. But at the end of the day, when you have a moment to connect with any of those people, regardless of your level relative to theirs, your position relative to theirs, your income relative to theirs, your experience relative to theirs, you can connect with that person. And the connection, two ways, and it depends on your interest and your effort to make that moment worth it for yourself, at least, if not for both of you. Anwar, Salsa Detroit, living in DC. Cool. All right, so let me continue. um, so I talked about the club, right? About this other member who wanted to leave her club because of small engagement, small membership and engagement, and didn't feel motivated. And this was exactly what I had shared with her. Well, here's an opportunity. A smaller group gives you different opportunities than a large group does. You can actually have more opportunities to bring about change and influence and bring people up instead of maybe just going along for the ride. Right? There's that opportunity as well. So let's go on to the relationships aspect. The romantic one first. So my friend who there's a friend of mine who I was recently talking to who was talking about this one relationship she's had for 2 or 4 years, and um, I think this is their third go at it. And the frustration that she was expressing was, I'm back here. I'm here with him again, and it's always the same thing. It always starts off great, and I feel like I need him in my life. And when he's not around, I want to be with this person, but as soon as he's around, all of these bad things happen, and then it makes me feel more like shit. And then we break up, and then we have time apart, and then this person comes back and knocks on my door and apologizes and wants to try again, and I give him another opportunity, and each time it's the same outcome. So, you spend years, right? How many years of our life do we spend in relationships? Not just romantic relationships, but friendships too. How many years do we spend in those relationships? And if they are toxic and negative, then we really do sometimes look back and say, man, what a waste of time. I wished I'd never met that person. I wished I'd never engaged, or I wish I never got back with that person. Right? And that's one way. And of course, the good choice would be to not go back into a toxic relationship. But here now, we have a situation. How do we make it worth it? How do we make this painful experience worth it? One is the takeaway, right? Or not one, but it's really the takeaway from that relationship that makes it worth it. It could be a matter of reflecting on the good things, saying, what was good about this relationship? What can I hold on to without resentment? And can I accept that those things no longer exist and now let it go? I don't have to hate this person. I don't have to be vindictive to this person or talk bad about them. I can just say there were good things. Things started to sour. They took a turn for the worse, and I've let it go. But I don't hate this person because we did share some good moments. The other aspect of it, the takeaway, is what was bad about it, right? Can we reflect clearly and say, what was the problem? What was the contribution? This person, the other person, and myself. What did we do that made it sour? That allowed things to take a turn for the worse? Where could we have fixed it? How could we have fixed it? Not to say that you go back and fix it, because maybe it's gone, right? Sometimes there's no fixing something because it's no longer a match for whatever reason, right? Could just be lack of understanding, lack of just being on the same page with somebody. Or sometimes you just end up with like narcissists and egotistical people, and I don't know when they change, if they ever change, right? But it's not about going back and fixing it. It's about saying, how do I avoid this in the future? Right? The bad relationships are bad. Like when we think back to it, oh, I did not like being with this person. I hated that they cheated, or I hated the way they talked about me or acted towards me. Yeah, those are all bad things. But just complaining about it again and just saying this was bad and this is why I don't like this person or I hate this person, why not think about it in along the lines of, how do I avoid this in the future? Because I could say from experience, there are many things that I found unacceptable in relationships, I really didn't like certain things. That relationship ended. And then I ended up with somebody who was exactly the same. Different face, different name, different body, but same treatment. So did I learn? No, I didn't even reflect. So I went from bad relationship to bad relationship. And then I started feeling like, oh, the world is happening to me. Woe is me, right? I'm cursed by always meeting the wrong guy. Well, I'm kind of choosing it in a way because I'm not taking the time to reflect on those flags, those signals that could help guide my decisions in the future. I'm complaining about it. I have actually identified it because I'm complaining about it, but I'm not learning anything, right? So that's the takeaway. So no matter what relationship, friendship, romantic, etc., like you got to think about it like that. Is yeah, we have bad moments. Yes, we have bad relationships. Not everything can be like this perfect, beautiful friendship, relationship full of love and support and all those things. And they're not all like that. But whatever is the problem with it is the thing that you really want to reflect on and understand. Understand in a way, not just about what that person did that you don't like, but what did you do to allow something to happen, right? Where could you have blocked it? Where could you what might you do differently in those situations to put a stop to it, to walk away, or to change the course of conversation and connection, right? It's not victim blaming. Don't get it twisted. It's about reflecting and understanding. Because again, if all I'm saying is that person, that person, that person, that person in my friendship or in my romantic relationship, well, is there no accountability for myself? Right? If I saw that someone was always flirting with somebody else and I didn't put a stop to it, or didn't comment on it, or didn't communicate that this is upsetting to me, and then they ultimately escalate that to cheating on me, right? Did I not see something? Did I not see some signs there? It's not to say it's my fault. I didn't encourage that. I don't deserve it, but I saw some signs and I could have walked away from this person sooner, probably, because most of those things that are really bad don't happen like this. They happen incrementally. There are little signs. So, what did you learn? What did you take away? Alex from Brazil. Hello. Nice to see you. Long time indeed. Okay, so those kind of relationships, what can we take away? Same thing applies in a similar fashion to like those co-working relationships with people, like the other client that I had who really disliked her coworker. Right, talking about how she's always kind of undermining what she's doing. Communication style is not effective. It's not conducive to actually working together and getting something done. So, what are our options? What's our choices there? Do we say, well, screw the goal, screw the project, let it fail? I just can't work with this person and we're never going to get anything done? Or going back to the contribution element, what can I do? What can I learn from this moment? You know, our communication might be really great when we're talking with people who communicate just like us. It might be excellent, right? We can understand everything, we can speak clearly with them. It is when we are forced to communicate with people who either don't understand us, have a completely different communication style, who are perhaps confrontational, right, or resistant to whatever we're saying. That's where you really get to test your communication. That's where you get to test your skill, right? So instead of looking at that person and saying, I'm going to avoid this person because I don't like their style, instead figuring out how to connect with them. And again, like a dance, okay, there's a moment. It doesn't have to be forever. So if you don't work with this person, if you don't try to connect with that person, your project fails because you absolutely must connect with that person to get the outcome that you desire. So the project fails. But if you work with them, if you try and find a different way, not like resentfully working with someone, but really looking at it as a learning opportunity, right? It's like, let me compare it to stray animals, right? Rescue animals. Maybe they've been abused and they do not trust you. I mean, I've seen tons of videos, and a friend of mine actually has a rescue dog who was severely abused. He's great with the owners, the main owners, but anyone else that comes in, it's that dog is so scared, right? What did they do when they got that dog? That dog was aggressive towards them, right? All they were bringing was love to the table, but that dog was aggressive towards them. If they said, well, too aggressive, don't like it, I want another dog, what happens to the dog, right? The poor dog doesn't get any love. The poor dog doesn't get a home. They get sent back into a shelter, right? So I'm not saying refer to other people like dogs, but at the same time, that aggression, you don't really know where it's coming from. You don't always know where what is the source? What's the root cause? What happened that makes them so defensive or makes them feel like they've always got to fight for something, right? But if you open up yourself, knowing that you're in a better place to be open, to connect, you can perhaps create something longer lasting. And if you can't do that, then at least you can get your project done. Right? At least you can get that situation taken care of. And like the dance, you have 5 minutes, 3 minutes, sometimes 10-minute songs. Okay, that's all it is. Right? If you really are with somebody who's not engaged, who's looking all over the place, yeah, it's unfortunate. You can keep on trying to connect with them. Maybe you break through and you get this beautiful connection. And now every future dance is going to be amazing and fun because you've broken through that. You build rapport. But if you don't, well, when that song is over, there's no reason for you to go repeat that. Just like for this client, when this project is over, future projects, maybe she can avoid working with this person, or maybe they break ground and they actually build a relationship where they can have a working relationship and they voluntarily desire to go into another project working together. Thoughts for all of you? Have you experienced anything like that? In any situation. I mean, it could be in any community, could be work, it could be the dance community, a dance school, a dance company, a volunteer community, many areas, right? There are different ways to connect with people. And I would also say, I remember in one situation where I needed someone to do something, and it was clear that they were not really incentivized, right? They said yes, and they seemed like they were motivated, but when push came to shove, there was no action taken. And so, words only mean something, especially when they're tied to doing something. If you don't do it, it doesn't mean anything. And so I could have looked at this person and said, well, what a waste of time. I don't want to work with this person. I'll just do all of the work for them. That adds more to my plate. And this person still gets credit for being in this role. Or I replace this person, but then I might create more of a rift and more tension in that relationship. Or I start to look and say, okay, don't really like the way this person is engaging. What is their reason for being here? Can I discover what would actually incentivize them to do something? Right? Some people like recognition. Some people want a challenge. Right? My way of doing things is not other people's way of doing things necessarily. So I can't really bring my motivations, my inspirations, and my calls to action to other people. So what I ended up doing was saying, okay, this person likes to be acknowledged, right? Likes to know that things will be credited to that person. So whatever efforts this person made, I was always sure to let everyone know so-and-so provided us with this template, this worksheet, and that made them feel good. And then they noticed that, wow, if I'm going to get all this recognition for this work that I just did, then I'm going to keep on doing more work. And all of a sudden, now we started collaborating. Now we start working together. Now I'm able to get the deliverables that I want from this person without constantly butting heads and feeling like, hey, look, I asked you for this and it's still not here yet. And you said it would be ready by this time. Instead, I found out what incentivizes them. They want the official public recognition within the group. And so then back to connection issues. Am I back? I'm sorry, folks. I even plugged in cable to my laptop today and still having issues. So from Anton, the longer you dance, the more social responsibility you end up having. Not everyone has good social skills, and it's okay. Forcing yourself to connect with someone you don't like, where would be the line between being honest or fake? Great question. I guess it's the terms that we use. So I'm never forcing myself to connect. I am always looking at it as an opportunity, and I'm putting it into context. If I'm dancing with somebody who's not connecting with me, I'm not saying I have to connect with this person. No, I don't have to. But who am I? I am a person who smiles, who laughs, who's playful. Am I going to change who I am because this person is not like that? No. I've spent, 4 decades becoming this person who I appreciate about myself. So no, I'm not going to change that. So I'm not forcing myself to connect with that person. I'm bringing this to the table. I'm not allowing them to dominate the conversation, especially when it's a downer, when it's negative. I'm bringing something positive to that moment. And then as far as honesty or fake, I genuinely want a connection. I don't want to necessarily be this person's friend for the rest of my life, but I want to enjoy this moment as much as I can. And so what can I bring to help me enjoy the moment, but hopefully help us enjoy the moment further? So there's neither forcing, not obligated to connect, but that is what I appreciate about life, is the ability to connect with others. And so I will always bring that to the table. And as far as honesty or being fake, it's always honest and genuine. I'm not faking that moment. Faking the moment would be not really connecting with the person and then saying, oh my God, can we exchange numbers? And like, you should come over to my house and hang out and let's go for coffee and all this stuff. When I really didn't ultimately feel like a great connection. That's forcing it. That's faking it. I don't really connect with you that well to invite you into my home, right? That would be kind of a fake invitation. Right? That's forcing it. But that moment, that 5-minute dance or that project, right? I don't have to love you. I don't have to say this is the groundwork for a lifelong anything. But in this moment, I'm going to bring my best. If you're bringing something negative, I'm not going to let you dominate that conversation and dominate that interaction. I'm going to bring myself to that table. And I'm going to try, because again, can I? Because if I give up, do I even know what was possible? Did I even put any effort to make that moment worth it? And if that moment doesn't last more than that moment, but I can have fun and be who I am and perhaps elicit a smile or something like that, then that moment feels worth it. If I can actually convert someone from being stone-faced and very strict and severe in their looks to smiling and laughing and opening up, well, that makes that moment really worth it. No, but if I didn't even try, or if I give up, or if I allow someone else to dominate that moment, one, we don't connect. Two, maybe my energy is bad now after that dance, and now I'm feeling miserable. Now I'm bringing that to the next interaction, right? And how does that serve us? How does that serve me? And how does that serve the next person who didn't deserve it? So, you're right. Not everyone has good social skills, but social skills, like almost any skill that we acquire, is developed through practice, right? We develop these skills. And so people who don't have good social skills can develop them. But if every time they come with poor social skills, let's say a student in a class who's not a quick learner, If all the teachers give up on them, will they ever be a good learner? No one's giving them the opportunity. No one's showing them the way. So if you got people with poor social skills and you're just saying, well, I don't like your attitude and I'm going to ignore you and avoid you, well, the next person they interact with are going to bring the same. But what if we looked at that moment and say, don't like it, but let me bring something to the table. As a teacher, I see everyone else is learning at a quick pace and one person isn't. I'm not going to disregard them. I'm going to try and help them, right? I'm going to show them that it's possible that they can develop that skill too. So yes, you talk about the social responsibility that you end up having the longer you dance. It's not just dance. It's just life. Longer we're alive, there's a social responsibility. The more that we become adults, there's a social responsibility. And when it comes to anything that we want to label with a skill, well, it's something that we can learn, we can develop, we can study, we can practice. But we also need to provide opportunities to others who are not at the same level, just like dance. Okay? Social skills are a skill. Dance skills are a skill. If every beginner never got a chance to dance with someone who's more advanced who could challenge them, would they ever be more than just a beginner? Probably not. It is the advanced dancer that says, well, it's okay. You don't know that much. I'm going to show you a little bit more, and brings them up. So social skills, I would equate similarly. Don't know how to communicate well? Don't worry about it. I'm not going to push you out of this situation. I'm going to invite you in and I'm going to help you. And I'm going to show you what more you can get when you improve this aspect of your communication style. Hope that addresses your comment. Feel free to add more to it, Anton. I always like comments like that because it forces me to think. It's the interaction, it's your comments, it's your thoughts, it's your experiences that ultimately drive these live chats. Anton's follow-up comment. When you dance, you enjoy and you try to make the other person happy as much as you can. I was more talking about social interactions when people get offended and give you attitude for not saying hi or dance more than once. Happiness is a choice as everything else in life. Thank you for your reply. One day we'll dance. You're absolutely right. Happiness is a choice, as is everything else in life. And for those people who get offended and give you attitude, you know, there are different ways. And it is a skill for us to even work on it, to show up in that way. It's much easier to encounter something bitter and say, nope, right? Like we don't really look at a lemon, like a really tart lemon, and say, oh God, that's really bitter, and say, let me go in again and see if I can enjoy it. We don't, we just toss it away. Like that's what we do with many things in life, many experiences that are challenging in some way, that make us uncomfortable, that don't really make us feel good, right? And I'm not talking about like violent things or anything like that. I'm just talking about uncomfortable situations. Someone's got attitude, someone is rude, or someone's demanding, right? Things that don't make us feel good. And we say, I don't like that interaction. I'm gonna just completely avoid it, right? And you can. I'm not saying that's a bad choice or a wrong choice. You can completely walk away from that. However, let's take the example you gave, which is, someone saying they're offended or they give you attitude for not saying hi. Right? How could we approach that differently? If someone, or you don't dance more than once, like instead of saying, hey, I don't owe you anything, I'm going to make them feel more defensive. We had a really great dance, but there are many people who I have not yet danced even once with. We already got one dance, but all of these other people I didn't even get a chance to dance once with. So I would like to do that. I'd like to enjoy what we had with other friends and dancers too, right? How can we communicate better to help other people communicate better, to show them kindly and gently and humbly that what they're asking for, what they're demanding, or how they're communicating is not great, and it could be improved upon. we can bring that. Like that's my thing, is we can bring that to the table, right? I just, I think I spent a lot of my life too pointing at other people and saying, you got problems. You're not this, and you're like this, and I don't like that about you, right? And now today, I'm starting to see, not just today, for the past few years, I'm starting to see how much more power I have in a situation, and how much am I exercising it in any situation. You know, it's not to come in to control something. It's just to say, I'm having fun, or what I'm bringing is positive and good and open. So I'm going to fight for that. Just like in dance, in this my dance career, where everyone was sitting there complaining and criticizing, oh, Magna's not feminine enough, oh, she hops too much, or she's doing all these silly things, or she's adding her own stuff, and that's not how the dance is. The follower's supposed to wait for the lead to dictate what's going to happen. Yeah, right. That's a lot of pushback. And could I have quit along the way or changed my style just to follow and fit in with everybody else? I could have done that. I could have done either of those things. But instead, I thought, what am I bringing? Like, with all these people who watch and observe and complain about the dance that I'm having with somebody, where I am being experimental, being creative, laughing, smiling, being musical in different ways, being funky, and that person is now responding to me. When I look at that dance that they're also looking at, all I see is smiles from both partners and a big hug at the end. So I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm bringing something good. So yes, I'm going to continue to bring that to the table, right? Criticisms be damned. Critiques be damned. But that's what I mean, is we have a lot of power. We have a lot of good. And especially for those of us who are thinking about things in a positive way, in a warm and welcoming way, in a kind way, in a creative way, in an open way, we got to step up and fight for that too, right? Can't be dominated by the other things that are not beneficial. We see it, we encounter it, we have a choice to ignore it, to walk away from it, or confront it, but not fight it necessarily where it's resistance, but just maneuver it around, just like we do in dance. And Anton's one more. Candelaria from Mexico. Hi. And Anton's one more comment. One lady started hitting me with her legs on the dance floor, saying I never invite her and that she has to always be the one asking. I said, I forgive you, and gave her a hug, big smile, and that was the end of her being pissed. You see, you just came up with a completely different way of looking at addressing something too, right? Not something I would have thought of necessarily, but that's what I'm saying. And I encourage you, whoever's listening to this part about it, like, how are you approaching things? What is a moment that you felt like you couldn't connect with somebody, or that the other person was bringing something negative or confrontational or aggressive or whatever? How did you address it? What did you do? What did you bring to the table to make it feel less like a negative interaction, and something that you felt was worth it at the end, that you were able to make it worth it? All right, so let me talk about. I talked about the dance community, Toastmasters community, the member as well, and what we did, as well as relationships, both personal, romantic, and then also professional or like social relationships. So to kind of sum up, well, what the solutions are. Okay, one is, what can you take away? Identifying what can you take away from each experience, because every single experience, challenging, painful, loss, where you suffer loss, where you lose time, where you lose something tangible, where you feel uncomfortable, where you're hurt, every single experience has lessons in it. Right? There's something there that we can learn. There's an opportunity there for growth, but we have to actively look for it. It's not going to be given to us. What's going to be given to us is the reaction that we feel to that moment, to that experience. But the lesson is hidden in there, and we have to go and look for that. So what can you take away from any situation? Second, what can you bring? We're all unique in our own ways. We all have different types of energy, different experiences that contribute to the energy, the vibe, the person, the persona that we are today. If we have something good to bring, can we bring that? Are we willing to bring that? Are we willing to bring it even if there is resistance in the community, in the environment that we're in? Right? Are we passively participating in a community, or are we actively contributing to it? To enhance the experience, right? Is that interaction one way? Do we acknowledge and understand that it's a two-way street, that we can influence just like we are being influenced, right? Like the environment doesn't always dictate who I am, right? And what I'm doing or how I feel, my mood. I can do the same. I can bring that to that environment. How can we grow? Third thing, right? Like if we're feeling bored or hitting a plateau, is that really the situation? Is the whole thing boring? Or is the plateau a real plateau? Or is that me and my perspective and my approach and my mindset? Can I challenge myself? Right? If I'm encountering a style of communication that I don't like, that I've never encountered, that is not my style or not my standard, or an interaction that's not like that, how can I grow? Right? If I've been living in my comfort zone, here's a chance for me to break out of that comfort zone and test my skills, develop my skills in that new environment, in that new situation, in that new interaction. Right? And so anything that's a negative influence, same thing, right? There's a resilience to it. There's an element of growing and increasing your resilience to negative influences. Can you stand up against it? Can you bring the positive? Can you bring your unique you to that equation? And if you're comparing yourself, right, to any situation in the past and saying, or any situation outside of your present moment, like thinking, well, what's the context here, right? How long am I here for? Do I have a choice to leave? If I do, why am I not taking it? If I'm not going to take it, then what can I get out of this moment? How can I stay present? How can I avoid comparing the past or the future to this moment? How can I get the most out of this moment and be mindful of this space? Right? And then that whole boredom aspect of it, right, is really about your mindset, your ability to be creative. Because when I was a kid, I remember going to a ravine close to our home in Toronto with a couple of friends. We had nothing. Okay, we didn't have toys, no ball and a bat or rackets or anything like that. We would just walk there and then pick up some stones and say, okay, we're going to create a fortress here, and this is my turf, and then let's grab these sticks, and those are going to be our weapons, and we're going to battle it out or something. We got creative. We didn't have anything around us. Right? Someone else today, kids might sit there and look at, because of all of the stimulus and all of the things that they have access to today, might show up in that same space and say, boring. This is so boring. There's nothing to do here. Do you know how many hours I spent? I used to spend so many hours with my friends in that same space with no toys, with no phone, with nothing. And we would have a blast because we got creative with what we had. So like that club, yeah, 4 members, not a big club, but let's get creative. What can we do with what we have? And that's really the The true test of your skills and whether you're developing them is, can you still do something? Can you fight that boredom? Can you fight that mindset? And instead of complaining and saying, I'm bored, look at what you have in front of you. Create something out of that moment. Just like dance too, right? Looking at a beginner dancer and saying, I'm bored, you're not challenging me. Challenge yourself, right? Find a way, find something that's exciting to connect with. And if you have any comments about, if you have any other solutions, rather, like, add this to the comment as well. So, of course, 120. Oh, long live chat again, even though I thought it was going to go fast. So first step, identify what your plateaus are, what your challenges are, what feels stagnant, or what feels unfulfilling, right? What feels maybe toxic even. Identify those things. Figure out where you are mentally, right? Think about that whole aspect of like, what can I control? What is out of my control? And if it's within my control, am I doing my absolute best? Am I bringing everything of who I am to the table? And if it's not within my control, then what is within my control? Well, it's my approach. It's my mindset. It's the way I reflect on things. It's my ability to find a new approach or a new perspective to that same issue. Then think about what you're going to do and then do it, right? Instead of saying, oh, I could have, or I would have, or I should have, say I did. Like, try and walk away from that situation and say, I did do that. You know, instead of just I could have. Because again, like that social skill conversation that we were just having, you know, you could have helped, but you didn't. You could have possibly brought some positivity to that moment and made that entire interaction better, but you didn't. You gave up. You could have still been a member of a dance community or any community, making something better and more positive and welcoming instead of cliquey, but you didn't. You could be in a small group and help them grow and build that engagement to the levels that you would want, but you didn't. You left, found something else, right? So think about what solutions you would think of solutions, first of all, and then do them, right? Try them. I mean, we're never going to know what works and what doesn't work if we're not actually trying them. So learn from, I'm going to question off topic. Anton, go ahead, share your question. So learn from your experiences, right? Even challenging ones. Identify with, rather, your power, your personal power, your agency, your ability to influence the situation, and know that the influence is not a one-way street. So Anton, your question is, what connection is more important, music or partner? For me, partner first, music second. Partner, and I've said this a few times, the partner connection dominates everything because the partner is a human being in front of me who has feelings, who is sharing a moment with me, who is feeling what I'm giving to them and can contribute in return. Music in most cases is, a lot of places it's a DJ. And so the music does not hear or connect with me directly, right? If I do something and I'm completely offbeat, the music is not going to know. It's a song recorded long time ago. Live music, a little bit different perhaps, but still subjective. And I could go into that in more detail another day. But the music is not going to be impacted negatively if I don't connect with it. It's still going to be what it is, regardless of what I do and how I express myself to it. The partner, however, is different. We are working with each other. We are constantly playing off of each other in our energy, in our movements, in our emotions, in our feelings. And so the partner always comes first. And if they're offbeat, as you added, when one is offbeat, if they're offbeat, then that is a skill. And I love that you actually mentioned that, because that ties perfectly into like how to make something worth it. If they're offbeat, is like that person who doesn't know how to communicate, that person who's lacking social skills. You can walk away from that situation and say, well, they're offbeat, so I'm not even going to bother. And so now nobody dances with them. If everyone had the same approach, me saying I'm going to walk away, if everyone had that approach, this person might never get back on beat. There's no one showing him or her how to stay on beat. Now, there are two ways to approach it, is to offer to help them stay on beat, which is that whole social skill development through interaction, where you bring more effective techniques to the equation and allow them to absorb that, to learn from it, to experience it, and hopefully implement it themselves. Or you engage with them on that level. So not an aggressive level, right? Because that would be like someone's yelling at you, so you decide to yell back at them. That's not really the best thing. But offbeat is not pain. Maybe it feels like pain, but it's not hurtful. It just feels maybe a little bit painful. So you can just connect with them on that. It's like talking to somebody who doesn't speak English very well. There's a certain way that I understand the words in English if they're put together in a certain order, in certain sentences and paragraphs and sections. But if somebody doesn't really speak English well, I could either say, well, you don't even really understand the language, so I'm not going to connect with you. Or I can say, okay, if this is your understanding, it's not correct, but I can understand what you're trying to do. So I'll just connect with you there. And I'll speak simple. I'll remove some of these conjugations of verbs and keep it really, really simple so that we can connect for this moment. Again, going back to adding a little bit of context, right? Understanding that just because something is does not mean that it has to be, right? Just because something is in the present does not mean that it has to be in the future. You have a moment, you're there already, you're engaging, you're interacting, make the most of it, make it worth it. If you don't like that experience, remember what you didn't like about the experience. Remember what you didn't like. What were the signs and the signals that allowed you to get into that place in the first place? And then you can avoid that in the future if that's really something you don't want to repeat. But try to bring yourself to the equation and see, maybe you can actually influence it. Maybe you can, in the dance example, bring them on beat, or at the worst case, have fun with them off beat. I can tell you, I have had a really fun dance. I don't remember the guy's name, but I remember having a really fun dance with a guy who was completely offbeat. I don't know that we were dancing salsa. I don't even know what we were dancing, but it wasn't on beat at all. And he was standing on the sidelines. No one would dance with him. Some people walked away mid-dance because he was offbeat. It was so awkward for them. And he asked me to dance. I started dancing, and I realized that he wasn't on beat. I tried to redirect us back onto the beat. That didn't work. And I said, who cares? I'd rather not be doing this, fighting and resisting each other. I'd rather just play. So I tried to be offbeat with this partner, and it actually ended up being really fun. It was so challenging for me. I'd never had a challenge like that with all my years of dancing, all my hours of dancing. That was the challenge. So it's how we look at it. And I always say fun is subjective. Fun is personal. Fun is something you have. That's not something someone gives you. It's your choice. Boredom is a state of mind. Things are not boring. You are bored with them. So can I shift my mind state? Right? Can I shift my mindset? Like I was talking about the example of playing in the park with nothing, right? Versus today where you've got phones and games and apps and virtual realities and all these other things to stimulate you. So you don't even have to do any work. Back then, it was really about just being creative, right? So can you find your creativity in a space that you feel bored? What can you find that's challenging? And at the end of the day, like if we're all thinking about growing as individuals, becoming better day to day, through our experiences, we got to understand growth doesn't happen to you. Right? Everything could be growing, or you might not grow. Growth, personal growth happens because of you. Right? It comes through pushing through your plateaus, reframing your challenges. It's not about being passive in the process and hoping to absorb growth through osmosis of other people growing in their lives. You've actively got to be trying to grow and be better every day. And if you're doing that, then that's that unique you that you are now bringing to the equation and every interaction with other people. Maybe they're not where you're at, but now you're bringing that to them. Anton, you're continuing with as a leader, in order to be free to lead, I need the girl to do music so her weight is where it's needed for me to make her enjoy the most. Most of the girls follow regardless of music or not. I won't give up. Music first, then partner when we talk basics. So that's interesting that you say that about very interesting comment. Let me just wrap up this, and I'm going to address your comment before I wrap up the live chat. Making things worth it comes down to you, right? Whatever it is, whatever situation, whether it's worth it or not, depends on how you want to approach it. Okay? Your perspective, how you engage with that moment, how you engage with that experience. The value in any moment, any interaction is subjective, right? Everyone and I'm back. The value, right, we find disconnect. All right, I'm going to wrap up because maybe it's the fact that I've been going on for so long. The value that we find in anything depends on us, right? It's what we find. Again, it's not about like what is there. Oops, tapping the mic again. The value that we find depends on us. What are we looking for? Are we looking for value? Are we looking for something to take away from that moment? And no one else can give that to us. And that is subjective. One person can say that wasn't worth it at all. Another person can say, oh my God, that changed my life. Right? So if things can vary that much, then we know that it's a personal approach. What are we doing? How are we approaching it? What do we want to get out of it? And as always, influence, connection is not a one-way street. So you've got to understand that you have a role to play, that you have something to offer, and that is unique to you. But you've got to be willing to do it. Like when you hit resistance, when you feel something that you don't like, that's challenging or that's uncomfortable, like is your first action to walk away, or is your first action to say, wait a minute, I don't like this. I'm going to see how I can deal with this and perhaps bring about some change. What are the things that I could do beyond saying, I don't like it? All right. So that's the end of today's live chat topic. I'm going to talk about Anton's comment here because this is a dance comment, which is very interesting. As a leader, in order to be free to lead, I need the girl to do the music or to be on beat, I'm assuming. So her weight is where it's needed for me to make her enjoy the most. So well, not two parts, might be more than two parts. One, to make her enjoy the most. I mean, we just talked about fun being subjective, right? Happiness, you yourself said, happiness is personal, right? It's what I feel. You can't make someone enjoy something, right? She could be on beat and you could be doing all the things and putting her weight where it's needed, and she does not enjoy the dance. So you can't make her enjoy it. That enjoyment is a personal pursuit of her own to find her own enjoyment. Two, as far as the music being the way to shift, to make sure someone's weight is where it is, that's not how I would approach it. Okay. The music is a guide, and it would be great if you step back on 6. But if you don't, how do I work with your body work with the momentum, work with the connection between us to put your weight where it needs to be. And that is a good lead. So irregardless of the music, whether you're on time or not, because let's talk, like if we're going to talk about music, musicality is not about the 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 necessarily in dance. Musicality is about hitting all those other things. So now what exactly are we referring to with this person being on time? If they are on 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, then their weight is exactly where it needs to be on those specific counts. But you want to hit something that is in between those beats or outside of those beats. Now how are you making that person enjoy themselves? Because they're hitting the beat, their weight is where it should be on the beat, but it's not where you would like it to be for interpreting the music. And what part of the music are we talking about? The beat, another loud motorcycle, the beat, or the melody, or the percussion, or the solo, or the vocals, right? There are so many aspects of the music too. So as far as lead and follow are concerned, it's really about, do you understand the connection, the physics of connection, the dynamics of movement, the idea of inertia and momentum, right? If you understand those things, you can dance to anything with anyone, and you can get them to move anywhere that you want them to move, whenever you want them to move. And it can be an enjoyable experience. And by enjoyable, I mean something fun for you to do and something that's not uncomfortable for the other person to follow. Where if they have the attitude of wanting to enjoy the dance, they too can enjoy it. And Milan and House, it's about meeting the follow where they are. Absolutely. Right? That summary, I think, is the most succinct way I can put it. Understand that what we're doing in dance is to music, but it's movement. If you didn't have the music, could you still do the moves? Yes, you could. Right? So what about the music is forcing you to say, well, the connection to the music is first. When you have a person in front of you who feels, who emotes, right? Whose face might light up or feel like a cringe where something hurts or something felt awkward or get upset when something they didn't like, right? You got a human being in front of you reacting to the things that you're presenting to that person. How can that not be the most important factor in a connection with another person to the dance? And back to the offbeat thing, who cares? Right? Like, yeah, it would be nice if the person's on beat, but if they're not on beat and they've never really understood the timing of the dance, do you think that you can teach them in 5 minutes when for many people it took months or years to understand the basic timing? No. So is that within your control? No. What is within your control? Connecting with that person. So if you understand the dynamics of movement and connection and resistance and tension, you can still create movement that you'd like, things that are fun, a turn pattern that might not be on beat, but that is still connected with that person. And that person can now say, oh, wow, I was doing all these things. I didn't even know I could. And they can. They just haven't figured out how to follow it on the beat. And then back to the musicality aspect of it. Well, being musical has levels too. You could, when people are dancing to the beat, they're still musical, okay, metronomically, right? But they're dancing to the beat. There is a beat, there is a bar of music, 2 bars combined to make the basic step for us. They're dancing to the music. When they start hitting something outside of the beat, that's like in between those counts, that's to a melody or some other aspect of the music, well, they're still being musical. So what exactly are we saying about their weight being where it should be when they're dancing to the music or when they're not, right? Like, what if that person actually shifted their weight to hit a perfect little simple, subtle accent in the background? But you're like, well, no, you should be on 6. Well, if you really want to move them, you got to be really connected with that person, and you can. Trust me, you can. I am small. I'm 5'2". and maybe I'm not even 5'2". I think I might be rounding up. Okay. I'm a small person and I can lead bigger people, heavier people, um, inexperienced, less experienced dancers. I can get them to move the way I want them to move in and out of the time. Okay. Even dancers who have a solid understanding of the basic timing, I can get them to move out of that timing when I want to hit something in the music as a leader. How do I do that? Because of that connection. Because I'm not so focused on this is the timing and the music is most important. I'm thinking about my partner first. Where are they? Are they comfortable? And how can I move with them and create things that I want to create? And open up the dance and invite them to offer what they might want to create in return. So Anton, most follows will be waiting for your lead, and then you are late because the momentum is gone. This will reduce the menu one can offer. Well, I have gone to restaurants and had just pizza, and not fancy pizzas. They had just plain old cheese pizza. And there was one item on the menu, and it was great, and I enjoyed it. So it's not always about having a crazy menu with a million things on it for a dance to be engaging and interactive, fun. Then your other comment, obviously you can still have fun, just it's important for both to be connected to the music so we dance in sync. I gotta disagree with you. It's nice to be equally connected to the music. But dancing in sync, if you're talking musically, really depends on your interpretation of the music. And that is a very subjective experience. What I hear, you might not hear. So if we're both connected to the music, but we're paying attention to different aspects of the music, we're actually not in sync because I'm trying to play with something else and you're trying to play with something else. So that's why I say your connection to your partner, first and foremost, if you can understand how to connect with that person physically, forget the dance, forget the timing, forget the basic, forget the moves. Physically, what creates movement? This touch, this point of contact, the compression at this point of contact to solidify it, the extra force from one side to the other to create the movement. If you understand that and other points of contact, you can create a connected dance. Then, once you've got that, you can connect it to the music and you can feel if your partner is actually hearing something different. And then you can decide, do you want to follow that or do you want to let go to then interpret it yourself? And if you had something else in mind, well, that's one of those compromising moments. Like, do we do what I had planned or do we do what I think you're suggesting? And that's that give and take in a conversation. Can't be all about one person and the menu that they're offering. Think of it more like a potluck. That's the menu. Okay. Your dance partners are bringing their own dishes to the table so that everyone who's there can enjoy it. Milan, all you can do is offer what the follow can receive, which you should be able to figure out in the first 40 seconds of the song. And that is also to a degree correct. But there's so much more that someone can offer. And the more you interact and the more you try to connect with your partner, the more you'll see what they can offer. Think about your friendships. When you first met somebody, you probably had no idea how reliable they would be in other areas of your life because your introduction to them was limited to what you were working with in that moment. As you built that relationship, then all of a sudden different things come up. And now you see, oh, wow, I can actually connect with this person on a different level. And I can see that they have even more to offer. So your dance is the same. Absolutely. When you start dancing with someone, you can feel if they're nervous or something like that. And so maybe you adjust your lead. You don't go crazy. I'm speaking as a leader. But you might not want to keep it that basic the entire time. You might want to, instead of focusing on just the movements being simple and basic because you feel that they're nervous getting in there, try and remove the nervousness. right? Back to that kind of social skill aspect of it. Like, try to remove that nervousness instead. And now when you start to feel that they're comfortable, all of a sudden you're going to feel that connection change too. And now they have more to offer. And as a result, so do you. And now you can continue to play further and elevate that dance and enhance that experience. And wow, today, I swear to God, I thought it was going to be 30 minutes, 45 minutes at the max, and we are at 1 hour and 45 minutes. So I would like to conclude today's live chat. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everyone, for your comments, especially Anton. Really great points. I appreciate you sharing your perspective. It's great to share it because it allows me to, like I said, I don't know what's out there beyond me unless people are willing to open up and share that, whether it's directly or indirectly. So I appreciate all of the thoughts and the comments. So thank you for that. If you enjoyed today's live chat, whether you're watching the replay or you are watching this live, my feedback form, I would really appreciate it if you can complete that, magnagopal.com/feedback. If you'd like to support the channel, the easiest way to do it is subscribe, like, share the videos if you found the discussion useful. And if you want to be a little bit more generous, you can buy me a Ko-fi. It's on the link below, or subscribe to the channel as a supporting member of the channel. And with that, I'd like to say thank you again for joining another Empowered with Magna live chat. This is number 41. Next month will be 42 live chats, monthly live chats. So almost 3.5 years. So it's been exciting. I'm so honored and privileged to be in this position to share with all of you. And I thank you for your trust as well in coming to me with certain issues and with comments. And I hope that you feel more empowered as a result of these conversations, these discussions. And if anything, magnagopal.com, you can shoot me a message. Have a lovely rest of your day. And my mouse is not working. Bye.